Aaron Torres joining us, our buddy from AaronTorresSports.com, the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast, Kentucky Sports Radio, Fox Sports Radio is all around. And here on Smackdown's last day,
AT as no other person I'd rather do the last interview with than AT.
As one of the people who's been part of this show since the very start, as one of our foremost important guests, what do you have to say to Smackdown as he heads out yonder to better, bigger things?
I was going to say, are you guys like drinking pitchers of margaritas on the last day here to celebrate or what?
I wish we did.
You should. What are they going to do? Fire you? Why aren't you drinking pitchers of margaritas right now?
We told him yesterday, like, the way to go out on your last day on a radio show is to, like, for the very last second, drop that F-bomb you've been waiting to drop since the start of your career. He's going into teaching. I mean, this is exactly
I got to set a good example a little bit.
You set the example. You say, look, this is how you don't do it. This is how you end your career, and I ended my career and now started teaching. So I think he goes out with a bang.
So the future of America is in Smackdown's hands is what you're telling me.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a horrifying thing. Are you kidding me? I wonder I don't want to have kids. What are you going to teach, Matt?
Teaching. We have broadcast journalism at the school where I'm going to teach it. It's my alma mater. We're changing it up and we're doing sports broadcasting, and we're getting new video boards and kind of revamping our athletic venues at the high school. And your boy's going to be in charge of all of the imaging and everything about that, and teaching the kids to be the next Aaron Torres on Fox Sports Radio.
Wow. Well, that's really incredible. I know you'll have fill in for the first show and tell via Zoom. So the second show and tell, you feel free to hit me up, okay?
I appreciate that, my friend.
He keeps threatening to bring us in classrooms, so sooner or later he's going to do the same thing to you. All right, next, I want to get into this idea of like the season where you're always expecting that it's the year that Coach Cal is going back to the NBA. I saw you tweeting about this. Smackdown wanted to talk about it too. Is the thought perhaps that the name, image, and likeness and all the transferring and everything, and we're seeing ending some other collegiate careers, collegiate coaching careers, legendary careers, that would spur Calipari back to the NBA, where he just exploded in such I don't know if we throw the word disgrace around, but it did not end well in the late 90s. I realize it's a different league now than it was then, but it's not like the NBA is a place where routinely you have very lengthy coaching careers anymore.
Yeah, it was interesting because, so Phil, I mean, the whole kind of conversation started. Yahoo just put out a list, their NBA people put out a list of 10, names that are, garnering buzz in coaching searches, no different than we do in other sports, no different than when Eric Musselman's name popped up, as it pertained to college. And, so, Calipari shot it down pretty quick. But, what I would say is a couple things. There have been times in the past where I think that information comes from Calipari or his camp. Essentially, they're unhappy with the fan base, or they're unhappy with this, or they're unhappy with that. And I guess the premise was kind of twofold. Is like, one, yeah, college basketball is like completely changing and whatever. And two, in this particular case, I think part of it was, Calipari did see the dark side of that fan base this year. It's, I could go on Twitter, and on any given night, I know Twitter isn't a reflection of society and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. But, you tweeted about him after a bad loss, and it was, we need to, it's time, it's run its course, blah, 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 whatever. And so, I think that's probably what the NBA is looking at it from. I just look at it from a practical side of things, is that one, Calipari won, I'm not going to nerd out on coaching hires, but he brought in basically one of his best friends in coaching, his right-hand man, Orlando Antigua, this offseason, completely revamped the staff, completely revamped the roster. He's not walking out the door right now, but I do think there are kind of two quick scenarios that, I could see it going where he gives the NBA one more shot. One, if they're good but not great again next year, and he's just good enough where there's interest from the NBA, but just bad enough where the fan base is again frustrated. And I think the other one is what happens with name, image, likeness. Now, what's interesting is Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio put out, Kentucky's one of these SEC states that they've been kind of dragging their feet with all the legislative procedures, and I'm not smart enough to talk about it all. But on July 1, when Arkansas and Alabama are going to be able to start paying players, the schools in Kentucky as of right now are not. And so whether it is an imbalance in what the state can provide to players, whether the NIL stuff just gets out of control overnight, I think that is where the idea comes from, but he's not leaving this year. He spent too much time completely revamping the entire program this offseason to consider leaving.
This is just something I guess we have to get used to for the next couple of years. We saw this with college football with Fitzgerald out of Northwestern, although every year it seems there's rumors about him maybe taking over the Bears, and with Mullen with Florida and a couple other coaches too.
Yep.
And it's all tied into, we just don't want to be the thought is we don't want to be a head coach any longer in college football. And then Fitzgerald signs an extension. Mullen's still at Florida. It almost feels like deep fakes from the coaches to make the fan base appreciate them.
Well, it's a couple things. One, first of all, I do think it is a real topic that is going to hinder college athletics going forward. And I've made this rant on this show before, and I'll try to be brief with it. But, with name, image, likeness, I don't think it's unrealistic for the top quarterbacks, the top players, the top basketball players to now, in addition to mom and dad sitting in the room asking about the chemistry department, there's going to be an agent or a professional representation sitting there saying, well, what can you do for us financially? And then on top of that, with the transfer stuff, you basically have free agency every year. And so the thought and the prevailing thing that I've heard from smart people in college athletics is I do think some of these guys with options, whether it is Pat Fitzgerald, Ryan Day, Lincoln Riley, whoever, at some point they're just going to sit there and say, you know what? If I got to deal with agents and I got to deal with free agency anyway, let me just go to the pros because they have a guy that handles that, called the general manager, and I can just focus on coaching the team. So I think that's part of it as far as this scenario is concerned. And, but I also think what you said is right, Phil, and I think that's where some of the Calipari stuff has come in the past where, sometimes these coaches just got to let your fans know, hey, in Dan Mullen's case, hey, I know I lost a couple games at the end of the year there. You think you can do better than me? You think you can do better than me? Okay. I just want you to know that I have options too. So, if you want to compare it to a toxic relationship on Facebook or whatever, I'll let you guys do that. I don't know if we can make those jokes in 2021 anymore, but that's kind of what it is, right? Oh, you think you're doing so great without me? Let's see what Florida football looks like in 2 years. I remember what it was like when Jim McElwain was there. I remember what it was like when Ron Zook was there. So it's a lot of variables, but I do think those are the two big ones as it pertains to why we see some of these names year in and year out. And then, of course, there are always the guys that are genuinely interested, like a Brad Stevens, Urban Meyer, whatever.
Aaron Torres joining us here on Halftime AT. Kind of keeping it with the Calipari comment just for a moment, but kind of taking it in a different direction a little bit. You mentioned that you kind of expect some of these higher tier college coaches, not just in basketball, but like Lincoln Riley, Ryan Day, John Calipari, maybe making the jump to the pros just for the simple fact of the expectations and the changing dynamics of college sports. I want to put this in an Arkansas scope. I don't know necessarily about Sam Pittman because I feel like Sam Pittman will be here till he retires and just that this is his last stop. What about Eric Musselman? Do you see him maybe making the jump back into the professionals ranks? Or he seems to be really settled in with this transfer portal and everything about that. And obviously, once you get this name, image, and likeness to be able to market, we know what Musselman can do marketing this team. Where do you see Coach Musselman fall into this mix with the changing dynamics of collegiate sports?
Everything's on a year-to-year thing. I think this stuff changes really quick, Matt, but what I would say is obviously it goes without saying, I've talked to Muss, on the record on my podcast a lot. And I remember one of the first interviews I ever did with him. It was before he was even at Arkansas. He was at Nevada, and he was just kind of starting to get this name as this dude that was quirky on social media and all that kind of stuff. And so I bring it up because I remember asking him this exact question, about the idea of, at the time, it's probably still on Twitter somewhere, it was, he showed up at the Nevada swimming and diving practice and dove off the high rise. And, of course, he probably did it for the content and, created some buzz and whatever. But, he said, I was like, I feel like you're really enjoying, having fun coaching college basketball, like more so than the NBA. And he basically admitted as much. Now, I don't know if I framed it in that exact question, but, you can't show up and jump off the high dive when you're the Sacramento Kings coach and you're on a 5-game losing streak or whatever. It doesn't resonate the same. And so I do believe he enjoys being on a college campus. I don't know all the semantics of his contract, but I think, unless he wants to go retire at University of San Diego, which I believe that was the quirk in his contract, I think it's going to be tough for him to leave for another college job. And to your point, Matt, maybe the NBA is now the next frontier of, Arkansas warded off Indiana and Arizona and all those schools. Now maybe the NBA is the concern. So I really can't sit here and speak, for him. But, just from talking to him, I really do think he genuinely enjoys being on a college campus. And obviously, having his daughter in middle school or whatever it is, I don't think he's in much of a position to jump from job to job to job to job to job at this point in his career. So it doesn't really answer your question, Matt. And again, it is a minute to, a season to season thing, excuse me. But it does feel like he does enjoy the college campus and the college environment. I do agree with you on that.
And it doesn't get much better than being in Fayetteville. So you have
he's the face of Arkansas baseball, him and Phil Elson.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Well, why would you leave that? So you bring up baseball, and you're officially now a 2-week diehard college baseball fan. And in that 2 weeks, the overall number 1 seed, the Arkansas Razorbacks have been eliminated from the College World Series. And I'm not blaming you or giving you credit for that happening. But obviously, Kevin Kopp's being named the Dick Hauser Trophy Award winner. It was a decision to make. But I want to ask you, College World Series starts this weekend. I'm not going to be able to talk to you much more than over a text message. Who's winning the College World Series?
Yeah, so in my 2 weeks as a diehard, I haven't officially announced my pick yet. I do like Vanderbilt, though. I know how these tournaments work. It's a 10-day, 2-week grind, and once you get past those first 2 games, it's you're just patching together your staff. But that staff is going to put them in a good position to go 2-0 right off the jump. And then from there, you get into the winner's bracket, and who knows what happens from there. So my official pick is Vanderbilt over Texas. I really do like it. I know Vol Nation will not be happy with me, but they're about the 2 best teams that I've seen personally in my 2 full weeks here covering the sport religiously. Mississippi State, I actually thought they played well a little bit last week. Arizona played well. I know Stanford's hot. But my official pick is Vanderbilt over Texas.
I like it.
This is awesome. So
do you? Is that like a strong pick?
New guy's going to have to make a note, Aaron, that once we get, I'd say about like February, first week of February 2022, we're going to do a whole 2-hour preview of college baseball, starring the foremost expert in college baseball, Aaron Torres.
Very good. If I just pick like 6 SEC teams to go to the College World Series, I feel like I'll end up pretty good. So.
That's awesome. Hey, Aaron, before we let you go, just want to, you were one of my first interviews when I took this job back in February. Thanks for everything you've done for me. You made at least the transition for me extremely comfortable, and you've been very gracious and welcoming for me. And even though I've let you down a time or two with that damn chaos at the cantina, you've been a great friend, and I consider you a friend and a brother, and we'll definitely stay in touch moving forward, my friend.
Yeah, man, I'm obviously sorry to see you go. I enjoy coming on with you guys every week, Matt. I'll keep coming on, Phil, just so it's established. But I'm going to miss you as well. Best of luck. I know we'll be in touch. If there's anything I can ever do for you or your class or whatever, please let me know. But it has been fun, man. I really enjoy you. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you being such a good host and a good friend as well.
I appreciate it. Next, and whenever you're in Fayetteville, because we're still awaiting the AT arrival in BW in Bud Walton Arena, so I have to make my trip up there.
How much time do we have here?
You can go for an extra minute if you need. Go ahead.
No, I just saw the guys at Barstool yesterday announced an SEC basketball summer tour, and I was like, that's like kind of jumping in Torres' lane here. But no, those guys are good at what they do. But they're coming to Fayetteville, and listen, give me another year or two, I'll have the resources to. It's not that I can't get down, but I'd like to do something fun like that. Come down and hit 2 or 3 campuses. I'll tell you this really quick, and I know we are up on time here, but I've told Phil this privately and maybe publicly is. As bad as I want to get to Bud Walton Arena, I'm not going to lie. These last few weeks, maybe want to get to Baum Walker and some of the other great baseball venues in the SEC. So maybe I'll do a pseudo, baseball tour, summer stop, spring stop next year. I don't know, but yeah, I saw those guys were doing it. A couple of them are good friends of mine, and so I hope to do something in the future. And obviously, yeah, I mean, if I get down there, when I get down there, let's put it out into the universe. Speak it into existence, like LeVar Ball said. Obviously, you'll be one of the first people I call, Matt.
Aaron, appreciate you, man.
Thanks, AT, brother.
When you do that, you and I are probably making a trip to BB High School just because. And we got to run. Appreciate you, man. Ooh. Talk next week.
Thanks, guys. Talk next week, Phil.
All right, you got it. It's Aaron Torres from the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast, Fox Sports Radio, and future one-day instructor at BB High School, along with me and Professor Smackdown. 877-377-6963 to get in with us in this final segment of hour number one. Kevin Kopps is the Dick Hauser Award winner, also the Perfect Game National Pitcher of the Year, the NCBWA's Stopper of the Year. The awards are just rolling in for him now, and it should just be award season for Kevin Kopps. After the break, though, series finale of Snackdown with Smackdown. And it looks like we've got J-Dub on hold, so that means some life advice. Can we pack that all in to 5 quick minutes? Stay with us and find out.